Okay, good evening. Thank you for being here. This is June 11th, 2019 meeting of the Springdale Council. And before I call the meeting to order, I would invite you to stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and Mr. Powell, bring the invocation.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Father, we love you and we praise you for all the goodness you've given to us for this wonderful weather. We just thank you so much for it. Ask for your guidance, for your blessings on us tonight as we make these decisions. We ask for your protection and blessings on every citizen of this wonderful city. Bless us now. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Powell. We have large print agendas over here if anyone needs one. We do have a couple of items we need to take care of before we call the meeting to order. Two public hearings. The first one is a public hearing on an ordinance which is on the agenda to vacate a portion of Price Avenue. Statute requires that we have a public hearing before we act on the ordinance, and this is the portion of Price over here east of Spring Street in connection with the Criminal Justice Project. So is there anyone here who wishes to comment on this ordinance? Okay, so I'll close that public hearing, and the next one is a public hearing on an ordinance to abandon a portion of a drainage easement. This has to do with the development at the southeast corner of Highway 71 and Highway 264. Is there anyone here who would like to comment on the ordinance regarding the vacating a portion of the drainage easement? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and then ask the city clerk to call the roll, call the meeting to order.
Here.
Jeff Watson.
Here.
Mike Overton.
Here.
Colby Fulfer. Mike Lawson.
Here.
Rick Evans.
Here.
Brian Powell. Kathy Jaycox.
Here.
Ernest Kay.
Here. Have a quorum, and as you can see, the chair next to me is empty, so,
I nominate Brian Powell.
Second.
all right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
For meeting, Mr. President.
Planner Powell.
I knew it'd be comedy hour. Wow. Doug needs a new chair.
The new-
All right, wait, this is the portion of the meeting where we have, we'll hear comments from the citizens, and no action will be taken tonight, but feel free to come up to the microphone if you have anything that you want to talk about. And seeing none, we will move on to approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve them as presented.
Second.
Have a motion and a second, roll call. Are all those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. We're on to item 9, procedural motions.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for A and B. Roll call.
Powell.
Yes?
Jaycox.
Yes.
Williams. Yes. Watson.
Yes.
Overton.
Yes.
Lawson.
Yes, ma'am.
Evans.
Yes, ma'am.
Carry 7-0.
All right, we're on item 10 for agenda. Let me get to it here. So this will be to our city attorney.
Thank you. This is an ordinance vacating a portion of a dedicated public street known as Price Avenue pursuant to Arkansas Code annotated 14-301-301 et sec, declaring an emergency for other purposes.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Jaycox.
Yes.
Williams. Yes. Watson.
Yes.
Overton.
Yes.
Lawson.
Yes, ma'am.
Evans.
Yes, ma'am.
Powell.
Yes. We're on item 11. City
I
attorney.
move the emergency clause be added.
Williams. Yes. Watson.
Yes.
Overton.
Yes.
Lawson.
Yes, ma'am.
Evans.
Yes, ma'am.
Powell.
Yes.
Jaycox.
Yes.
Both the ordinance emergency clause carry 7-0.
Now we're on item 11.
Thank you. The next item is an ordinance releasing, vacating, and abandoning a portion of a drainage easement located on property in Springdale, Benton County, Arkansas, declaring an emergency and for other purposes.
Move to pass.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Watson,
Yes.
Overton,
Yes.
Lawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Evans,
Yes, ma'am.
Powell,
Yes.
Jaycox.
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Emergency clause?
Emergency clause be adopted.
Second.
Overton,
Yes.
Lawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Evans,
Yes, ma'am.
Powell,
Yes.
Jaycox.
Yes.
Williams. Yes. Watson,
Yes.
Both the ordinance and emergency clause carry 7-0.
All right, we're on item 12. Back to our city attorney.
Thank you. This is a resolution setting a hearing date on a petition to vacate an alley between Lot 4 and Lot 5, Block 4 of the Railroad Addition to the City of Springdale, Arkansas. This is at the request of the property owner, and we have received the written consent of all adjacent property owners. This is an alleyway 16 feet in width. Part of this, the other part of this was vacated years and years ago. This was originally platted in the late 1800s. Come to the attention of the new owner that there is still a platted alleyway that, in order to help with the development, to be vacated. And like I said, all the adjacent property owners have given their written consent. This resolution would set the public hearing on that for July 9th of this year.
Resolution be adopted.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, roll call.
Lawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Evans,
Yes, ma'am.
Powell,
Yes.
Jaycox.
Yes.
Williams. Yes. Watson,
Yes.
Overton,
Yes.
Carry 7-0.
All right, we are on item 13. We'll turn this over to Chairman Mike Lawson.
Thank you, Brian. We met last week. We had one item on the agenda. It was recommended for approval. It was actually a resolution adopting and approving the 2019 program year action plan for the Community Development Block Grant Program. That's actually just setting the goals and objectives for this coming year, and their year physically runs from the middle of this year to the middle of next year. I forget the exact dates. Isn't that right, Patsy? Yep.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any discussion? All right, roll call.
Evans, Powell,
Yes.
Jaycox.
Yes.
Williams. Yes. Watson,
Yes.
Overton,
Yes.
Lawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Carry 7-0.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Lawson. And we will go to item 14, and we will turn this over to our planning director.
The first item is for a final plat for Phase 1 of Harborton Ridge Plan Unit Development. The Planning Commission reviewed this final plat, recommends approval. The title of the ordinance reads, an ordinance accepting the final plat of Phase 1 of Harborton Ridge Plan Unit Development to the City of Springdale, Arkansas, declaring an emergency. Mike, if you go to the next one, you can see what the layout is.
I'll move the ordinance pass.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Powell,
Yes.
Jaycox.
Yes.
Williams. Yes. Watson,
Yes.
Overton,
Yes.
Lawson.
Yes, ma'am.
Evans,
Yes, ma'am. Move the emergency clause be adopted.
Second.
Jaycox.
Yes.
Williams. Yes. Watson,
Yes.
Overton,
Yes.
Lawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Evans,
Yes, ma'am.
Powell,
Yes.
Both the ordinance and emergency clause carry 7-0.
Again, the emergent clause are added because there's pending transactions on these properties. The next one is the final plat of Phase 2 of Ramsey Place subdivision. Planning Commission reviewed this final plat, recommends approval. The title of the ordinance reads, an ordinance accepting the final plat of Phase 2 of Ramsey Place subdivision to the City of Springdale, Arkansas, and declaring an emergency.
Pass.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Roll call.
Williams. Yes. Watson,
Yes.
Overton,
Yes.
Lawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Evans,
Yes, ma'am.
Powell,
Yes.
Jaycox.
Yes. Second.
Watson,
Yes.
Overton,
Yes.
Lawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Evans,
Yes, ma'am.
Powell,
Yes.
Jaycox.
Yes.
Williams. Yes.
Both the ordinance and emergency clause carry 7-0.
All right. Thank you, Patsy. We're on to item 15 on our agenda, and we'll turn this over to Chairman Mike Overton.
There were two ordinances came before the ordinance committee, both of which were recommended to be passed on to the council for recommendation for approval. First is an ordinance amending Chapter 110, Article 7 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Springdale, Arkansas, declaring an emergency and for other purposes. And this is to, this is pertaining to parades and
Closures.
street closures.
Move the ordinance pass.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion on this topic? Roll call.
Overton,
Yes.
Lawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Evans,
Yes, ma'am.
Powell,
Yes.
Jaycox.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Watson,
Yes.
Second.
Lawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Evans,
Yes, ma'am.
Powell,
Yes.
Jaycox,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Watson,
Yes.
Overton.
Yes.
Both the ordinance emergency clause carry 7-0.
Second item we have is an ordinance amending section 42-77 of the Code Ordinances of the City of Springdale, Arkansas.
I'll move the ordinance pass.
And for clarification, this clarifies the areas, since we've made notification to the citizens of Springdale about mowing various rights-of-ways that are adjacent to their property. This covers any right-of-way in which the city has installed trees or landscaping, then the city will become responsible for that.
Make the one change requested by the committee. The first underlined sentence, we changed the word shall to may.
The May.
Can I ask one, is there a second?
Not a second.
There's not a second. We have a
Second.
motion. We have a motion and a second. Is there
Could I
any
ask-
further discussion?
Could I ask a question? Okay, I think we've all seen the consequences of the ordinance and the change. My question will be, for example, there's some property that I'm not sure how, but a brush hog must have come through, and we're talking about right along the street, between the sidewalk and the street. So it was brush hog. It looks pretty bad. There's no trimming that's going to be done. Is this a policy? How do we address this in the future for those who are going to cut their grass, if that's what you call it? Because it really does add, as we talked about in the meeting, the way the city looks. And there are places that it might work really well. There are others that it's not working so well. So my question is, how is that going to be addressed? Do we have an answer? We don't.
So you're saying that this, we don't know if it's a city or if it was a property
Well, some
owner
of
that did?
it's, so the one I'm thinking, there are several I'm thinking of, but one in particular, it was brush hogged because I mentioned it was a little tall and it was
By a
difficult.
private individual, though, not the city,
Right.
right?
I don't know. It could very well be public property. I don't know. I'm not gonna go into ownership right now. I just wanna know how we're gonna address this, Ron, as we move forward, because brush hogging a very public spot,
Kathy, actually, James and Brad and I, we had a meeting this week. It has been brought to my attention by some real estate people on some of the vacant lots where they have real estate signs that in other cities, the city does a courtesy on vacant lots. They cut like a 10 to 12-foot buffer. I have approached Brad and James about that. That is something that we're going to work on. We're going to try to get the map to the council. Because like you said, it does make for a neater appearance. I did hit, when I was made aware of this, I did hit all the way to Rainbow Exit, all the way to MLK, and other cities are mowing areas along the road like that, which does make for a neater appearance.
well, again, my question will be, it's getting cut, but cut and brush hogging and trimming are very different
And I think
end-of-game looks.
I took some bunch of pictures of all these exits, and like I said, I got with Brad and James, and I did mention this to them, and it's going to be something that we're probably going to look at and bring before you guys, so we can get
These
it.
that I'm talking about are not exits.
Well, no, I mean, this is like you're coming down the city street. An example, by Westfield Chapel, those vacant lots there, all down in the other towns, they're cutting like a 10 to 12-foot
Which
buffer
makes
back.
really good sense.
So when you got a little bit of tall grass out to the curb, when it's 10 to 12 feet back off the road, it doesn't look near as bad. It makes for a better appearance.
And you're absolutely right, and I totally agree with that policy.
But that is something we are
My
working on.
question's still going to be, that little section, that between the street and the sidewalk, that grassy area, brush hogging, it gets cut.
And maybe
But
maybe
it's-
Brad can elaborate on that, but I don't know.
Maybe I'll just send you a few pictures and then we can talk about this later.
Okay,
Will that work? Okay.
yes, ma'am.
Just note it, please.
Do we have any other discussion on this topic? We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Evans. Powell.
Yes.
Jaycox.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Watson.
Yes.
Overton.
Yes.
Lawson.
Yes, ma'am.
Carry 7-0. There's not an emergency clause, but if you want to have one, if you think there's emergency, if not, it's your call. There's not one in it
I
currently.
move the emergency clause be added,
Second.
adopted.
Powell.
Yes.
Jaycox.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Watson.
Yes.
Overton.
Yes.
Lawson.
Yes, ma'am.
Evans.
Both the ordinance and emergency clause carry 7.
All right, we are on item 16, and we will turn this over to Chairman Rick Evans.
We had a meeting last week of Street and CIP, and we have 3 resolutions that were brought to the council tonight, and all of them were recommended for approval. And the first one is a resolution authorizing a supplemental agreement for engineering services. Extra work being done on
I'll move the resolution pass.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion on this topic? All right, roll call.
Jaycox.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Watson.
Yes.
Overton.
Yes.
Lawson.
Yes, ma'am.
Evans.
Yes, ma'am.
Powell.
Yes.
Carry 7-0.
Next, we have a resolution authorizing the execution of an engineering service contract for the realignment of 2 intersections on Park Street. Work only.
I'll move the resolution pass. I'm sorry.
Second.
I didn't mean to interrupt.
We have a second. We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion on this topic? Roll call.
Williams.
I do have a question. If they, once that's drawn up, so right now we have it where it has the 2 roundabouts on it. Is that what we're talking about, Park Street?
Right.
And that extension?
Mm-hmm.
Right, okay. And this is giving somebody authorization to do a second,
Well, I think what it is, it has, you have, it shows the intersections, it shows straightening out these 2 intersections. There is an intersection drawn in with just crosswalks, there's an intersection drawn in with traffic circles. And it's not 100% one way or the other from what I understand, Ron. And so we're, basically what this is doing is authorizing the design of these areas. So it's not necessarily gonna be all traffic circle, could not be, may not
but
necessarily
we're
be all
not
traffic
making a
circle.
choice
We're not
on
making a
what
choice.
that
We're
is
just
gonna
authorizing the
be
design to straighten
tonight.
out
This is just saying,
this
hey,
thing.
you, yeah, okay.
Correct.
That- I'm clear. Yes.
Okay,
Watson.
Not sure.
I'm not sure. I'm not real happy with the roundabouts, no.
Yes.
Overton.
No.
Lawson.
Yes, ma'am.
Evans.
Yes, ma'am.
Powell.
yes.
Jaycox.
Yes.
Carry 6-1.
As we have a resolution expressing the willingness of the city of Springdale, Arkansas to utilize federal aid, transportation alternative funds, TAP funds, for the Northwest Arkansas Regional Planning Commission for the construction of Spring Creek Phase 3. 20 match.
I'll move the resolution pass.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion on this topic? And roll call.
Watson.
Yes.
Overton.
Yeah, we might explain, this is just authorizing us to apply for grant money. This is not any other thing. Yes.
Lawson.
Yes, ma'am.
Evans.
Yes, ma'am.
Powell.
Yes.
Jaycox.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Carry 7-0.
Thank you.
All right, we are now on to item 17, and we will turn this over to Chairwoman Kathy Jaycox.
This is a resolution amending Section 3.11 of the Personnel and Procedures Manual for the City of Springdale, Arkansas. And from what I understand, what we discussed at our meeting last week, it was recommended for approval. It's a revision for the clarification to address medical marijuana. Gina, would you like to add anything?
No, that pretty much covers it. This was written with the assistance of the Arkansas Occupational Health Clinic and with input from both chiefs and Ernest, of course. But it helps us maintain our drug-free workplace.
Resolution be adopted.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Are there any further discussions on this item? And roll call, please.
Overton,
Yes.
Lawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Evans.
Yes, ma'am.
Powell,
Yes.
Jaycox.
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Watson.
Yes.
Carry 7-0.
All right, we are now down to item 18, and we will turn this over to Chairman Jeff Watson.
We had very little discussion about this at the committee meeting because the numbers to fill in to the resolution for the maximum price for the construction of the criminal justice building have not been completed. It was forwarded to the council without any recommendation, thinking that we would have those numbers by tonight. I've just been informed that we do not, that we're now thinking that we should have the numbers to fill in the blanks for the guaranteed maximum price by our committee meeting on Monday. So I've been asked to table this resolution, so I'll move to table.
Second.
Table to next council meeting or?
To the next council meeting and bring it up, we'll bring it up at the committee meeting, but table.
Reviewed at committee meeting.
Right.
All right, so we have a motion and a second to table this item. Any other discussion? And roll call, please.
Lawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Evans. Powell,
Yes.
Jaycox.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Watson,
Yes.
Overton.
Yes.
Carry 7-0.
All right. How was that, Mike?
Man, that was good.
That's adequate.
Fast.
That's adequate.
Fast.
All right, any comments from department heads? Ashley?
Just going to remind everyone that the Criminal Justice Building groundbreaking is coming up next Friday, June 21st. It'll begin at 1:30 p.m. up in the front, down kind of at the end where that big grassy space is.
Well, if we don't have a maximum
We're gonna break ground on a building we don't know what's gonna cost.
Yeah,
Makes perfect sense.
we thought so.
Anybody else? Council members? Attorney?
No, sir.
All right.
Move to
Motion
adjourn.
that we adjourn. All right, we're adjourned.
Good job.